嗯，哦，OK，呀，
h e l l o h e l l o 能听见吗？
可以了，可以了。
嗯，好的。
就是好像我不知道 Alex 怎么弄的，他这一加进来的话，刚开始都是那种观众模式，这个我不知道怎么调。
那如果之后别人进来的话，我们怎么把它变成？
是这边好像只有我手动啊。我看一下，要求所有人允许自我解除静音，允许嘉宾自己改名，开启视频，允许嘉宾。你现在能开启视频吗？
我可以。
好，没问题。
嗯，
然后看一下观众视图是画廊形式。
但他这样
我
弄的话就会很麻烦啊。这样他不能直接进来，进来之前还要填一个表格。
对，我发
对啊，
现了，
他这样的话，
太
他可
麻烦了。
能所有人没有可能就是准时的进来。
所以我也不知道怎么，那个 Alex 突然要搞的话，那我也不知道他怎么锁定网络会议室，嘉宾加入会议室将其静音。呃，没有 panelist link 吗？
我不知道。
我也不知道啊，天哪！我看一下啊，或者是应该是，我看一下，看一下，之前那个 join 那个链接应该是加进去就是 guest，好像是。
对，但是 panelist link 他应该要提前发给我，这样的话，呃，panelist link 我们有吗？我现在只有就是 Google Calendar 上面那个链接。
只有 Google Calendar 这个链接，我发现。
对，我们也是只有这个链接。
是的。Meeting notes from dialog conference。
panelist link 是，嗯
像。我一会儿我再开始录制，我现在是暂停的那个录制的那个什么，但是
好的。
那个叫什么，就是Zoom 的那个直播已经开始了。
对，我们是要手动的给他们加上去，然后他们还是要通过那个表格进来。
对，好像我不知道 Alex 那边怎么弄的。我刚刚开启这个的时候，我也需要填，所以
对对。
很迷。等一下我就换一个耳机。That this works. Just watch for their names. You can just focus on your. 所以今天一共有几个人加上你？就是加上你一共7个是吗？
对，加上我有7个。
其他的都只能就算在那个 guest 就可以是吧？
哦，就是 guest speaker 有6个人就定的话，然后加上我就7个人，但他们有一个好像在国内，所以他时间应该比较早。Send speakers the name they are. Oh no！我如果要 send 他们的话，一定要尽早，就是如果是对吧，最后1分钟给他们。
嗯，好像这个链接是不会变的吧？还是什么意思？就是说你的意思是说，如果之后他们加的话，就不能再加了吗？
是他把那个 panelist link 发给他，他就不用填写那个 registration form 了。
是吗？
我不知道，看他的意思是这样。
就让他们再注册一下吧，就直接进
嗯。
来那会儿，然后我这边手动给他弄去。抽签开始放榜了，好像。
什么？
没事，你去不要再担心这个。我天。 现在观众还是零，他们还没有来是吗？嘉宾也是没有零。
对的，我邮件的话，他们还没有注册，应该是还没有上链接。
好吧，
Alex 提到说，就是我们用，就他们用表格，然后登进来，然后我们手动帮他们改成 panelist 就好。
对，这是我跟他说的，我刚刚也是这么操作的。需要可能只得需要我这边来操作。嗯，我这边看一点吧。哎，有了，Joyce 也来，Joyce 来了，稍等，
Joyce 来了，OK。
我再把它移过去。这好像有延迟。
哦，Joyce 应该是在中国吧？那应该，嗯，
我把你设成主持人吧，要不，然后这样你那边方便一点。
好的，好的。Hi Joyce.
Hello.
Hi.
哎，
Can you hear me?
Yes. Chinese also okay.
Okay.
Set up the-
We are still waiting for other members to join. So maybe
No
just
worries.
1 second. Thank you so
Yep.
much for to join our event tonight. Or
No
this
worries.
morning.
So
Do you
you
li-
are in New York office, right?
Yes, I'm living in New York right now.
Okay,
Do you live in Beijing or?
no, normally in Shanghai, to be honest,
Okay,
and
so
currently in Taiwan.
so that would be really early morning for you, like
It's
7 a.m.
fine.
in the morning. Thank you
Yeah,
so
but
much.
I think that it will be a very valuable conversation.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Okay, let me just turn off my screen and wait for a few more minutes
Sure.
for other speakers to join. All right,
Yep.
talk to you soon.
You too.
Hey,
Hi,
Sasha.
Sherry. How are you
Can
doing?
you see me? I don't know where I can't see my video.
I'm so sorry. It must be some problem with the Zoom, but can you see me right now?
I
Is
see
everything
you,
okay?
yeah.
Okay,
Can
sounds
you
good.
can you hear me?
Yes, I
Sasha?
can hear you, Mr. Nabil. How are you doing?
It's okay. Yeah. I don't see my video.
Oh, let me try first. Promote to panelists. Sorry, just the technology, you know.
Should I join as panelist or attendee?
The panelists will be fine. Mhm.
Okay, thank
So you should be able to turn on your video, hopefully.
Okay.
All right, wonderful. Lovely to see you. Sherry, can you
There
see
we
me?
go. Yes, I see you. I think
Okay.
you see me now as well.
Thank you so much for attending. We are still waiting for a few more speakers, but Joyce is with us right now. Joyce, would you like to turn on your camera?
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Hi.
Joyce.
We'll start with the introduction later in the beginning, but hope everyone's have a good Friday so far. Like if you live in New York or California, that'll be Friday for you. Yes. Okay. So let's just wait like 3 more minutes and then we can jump right in. Okay.
Sounds good.
Hi, Emily. Can you hear me?
Hi, hello.
Hi, good to see you again. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Doing good? All right. Yeah, we are still waiting for a few more people to join. And we'll start soon. So thank you so much for attending and your patience. Okay. Yeah. Hi, Kitty. Can you hear me? Um,
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome.
Can you turn on the camera if possible?
Yep, just 1 second. Let me
Sounds good.
see. Camera. Oh, I didn't disconnect my camera. However, I can't see it.
Yes, I promote you to the panelist, and you can accept
Okay.
that by clicking.
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Okay.
Sounds great. Okay, I can see you right now.
Okay, just 1
But
second. I
although
think
it's
it's upside down, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay, let me see. I'm trying to. Okay, is that better?
Looks good. Okay, so everyone, if you don't mind, just turn on your camera and say hi to each other. And we basically have all of our guest speakers here. We still have one left, but I assume that he's joining soon. So hey guys, thank you so much for taking your time tonight or late afternoon or this morning, depending on where you're located, to join our webinar. My name is Sasha. I assume that I talked to all of you before regarding the event opportunity or even have an interview with you. So I am the business reporter at EqualOcean. We are a global tech media investment research firm that provides information services to many global investors and companies. So for each month, our company will host a monthly webinar about a niche industry. And for this one, I try to make it meaningful and impactful that relatable to everyone here in real life, which is digitization trend in food and restaurant industries. And I believe that I invited all of the speakers here who are experts all the way from upstream to downstream sectors. For example, we have experts from food supply chain, third-party delivery platform, point of sale system, and e-commerce operation, and finally restaurants in the US. So I'm really glad that you guys have joined. So let's get started with some self-introduction. I can throw some questions to you. So feel free to express your thoughts in this event. We hope to bounce the conversation back and forth. There is no limit. There is no right and wrong answer to anything. So please feel free to express that. If anyone has some interesting ideas that you want to, comment about, feel free to jump in the conversation as well. All right. So I see that. Okay, sorry to interrupt because I have some technology issues going on here. So I can start with Emily, if you don't mind, because I had an interview with you as well. So Emily is the owner of a Chinese restaurant in New York City called Mala Project. And she is a wonderful and outstanding female entrepreneur. And her restaurant has 3 locations so far in New York City. So Emily, would you like to give some self-introduction of yourself and what you're doing, your business in general?
Sure. Thank you so much. That was basically everything about me. I'm a restaurant owner. I moved to the US in 2010, and I went to culinary school, and we started our first restaurant in 2014. So that was when we first started the restaurant, we didn't really have any, I think, if I remember correctly, Grubhub and Seamless was the only delivery platform that that existed in New York. And I remember, I think it was 6 months in the summer of 2016, is when Uber Eats reached out and DoorDash started. So that's when a lot of the third-party platforms started emerging. As you know, I'm on the restaurant side, I'm as the user side. And so far we have 3 locations and we're expanding to our 4th location. So you can definitely see our needs for technology and innovation has expanded from solely working with delivery platforms to POS system and to now logistics and some technologies with accounting, data collecting, and things like that. And yeah, that's everything about me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's like awesome because you have used a lot of digitized devices in your business. And you do, because in our interview previously, you do mention that you use Hungry Panda as one of the platform to delivery as well. So we have an expert in that among our group. So you guys can, have some discussion afterward.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very excited.
Yes. And next we can jump right into Mr. Nabil, if you don't mind. I hope that's not too, interrupted, but could you give us some self-introduction?
Yeah, thanks, Sasha. I'm French. I live in California. I've been in California since 2015. Before that, I was nearly 20 years in China. I built a business that did all the fresh foods for the large fast food chains in China. So if you ate a sandwich, salad or soup at KFC, Pizza Hut, Starbucks, Costa, McDonald's in China, probably came from my company at the time. I sold the company and left it in 2011. And since then, I built a consulting practice that advised multinationals on their strategy in China and Asia, largely around food and agriculture and food supply chains and how it's changing and how they can tap into that. So,
Yes. Mhm.
so my experience is serving not directly in the restaurant sector as many of your guests, but serving these big restaurant operator and seeing how they're changing, how they're adapting, and maybe how we can learn a bit from what's going on in China.
Mhm. Thank you so much for sharing. I believe that you also have a very famous publication called the Electives Diaries. Would you like to tell more about that to the group?
Oh,
And
thank
what-
you very much. Yeah, I wrote a book after I left the company, a business memoir about my years building a food business in China. And it's got largely two themes. It's a story of entrepreneurship in China. And the other one is it's a story of leading in a different culture. And I draw the lessons from leading in a completely different environment and explain that I learned to manage people in a completely different way that is applicable in today's America, where teams are increasingly diversified and leaders have to be much more vulnerable.
Mhm. And you also entering the Chinese market since 1997, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so I came in China in 1997 for a big catering company called Compass as a finance director, and then started Creative Food, my company that served all these fresh foods for the restaurant
Yes.
chains.
That's definitely very interesting. I will throw some questions to you after the introduction part. So thank you so much. Let's move to Joyce Ling. And she is the co-founder of Yangtian Academic in Beijing that focuses on e-commerce operations. So Joyce, it's all yours right now.
Hi everyone, I'm Joyce. So I'm a Taiwanese and been living in China for over 10 years. I have experience of watching China getting very digitalization nowadays, and also seeing those changes after the pandemic, let's say before pandemic and pre-pandemic, and now kind of like during pandemic at this moment, now it's a little bit like outbreak in China again. Yeah, so China is taking totally different policies as other countries. So that is also an interesting part about that. And speaking of me, so I've been doing like research and then going to the marketing strategy and starting on e-commerce for over 8 years in China. So Yantian Academy is also kind of my baby. We helped a lot of international brands and business to land and grow in China with e-commerce and omni-channel practice. So from research, studying, telling people how this market will be like, what is different with your mother country, and then have a deep discussion to discover what kind of products and services you should have, and then what kind of a mindset of the Chinese consumers that you should think about, and then to have a very localization practice in China. Yeah, so this
Thank
is
you so
what
much,
we're doing now.
Joyce. Yes, that's also very great as well. And Joyce is also a wonderful writer. She published an article called China's Quick Service Restaurants and focusing on the digitization side. So you might have some communications with Mr. Nabil as well. So we really hope to, build a relationship here, not just to, isolate anyone to talk about their industry. We hope to combine together and share your interesting thoughts to each other. Okay, so next we have, I don't know, like who do you want to go first, like Kitty and Sherry? So maybe let's start with Kitty, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone. So, I'm actually based in Melbourne. So, good morning. From my side of the world. Well, I'm honored to be here today, representing Hungry Panda, attending this event. As the director of public affairs. Hungry Panda is a global leader in Asian food delivery industry. The platform was established in 2017 and in Nottingham, the United Kingdom. Our founder, who is also our CEO, Eric, his initial trigger of this idea of to create a food delivery platform was actually very, very simple, to fix a problem as an international student himself experienced firsthand. It is just to get a hold of authentic Chinese food on demand away from home. So our laser focused on a very niche market to begin with. And now that's why our user experience has been tailored, to Chinese interface and helps to overcome barriers such as culture and language. And gladly within 5 years, here we are. Hungry Panda has now become the largest, world's largest Asian food delivery platform. Operating in 60 cities and across 10 countries, serving about 3.5 million users across the world, with the support of 60,000 restaurant partners and about 40,000 delivery drivers worldwide.
Wow, that's astonishing number, Thank you so much for the information. We have 2 restaurant owners here. I see Mr. Han just joined, and he is also the owner of a Chinese restaurant. But Sherry raised her hand previously, so let's move to Sherry for her introduction.
Sure. Hi, everybody. So I'm here representing Postron. Our CEO is William Shi, so he's not here with us today, but he started this company a few years ago, and he's developed a proprietary POS system that's just recently been released into the market last year. And so we're here to give you some more information about that. And it's software that really is catering to, right now it's for the food industry, and eventually we might be releasing something for the retail as well. But for the meantime, we really want to focus on the restaurant industry because we see a need for that and for some advanced technology to really help in different areas, including the labor shortage. It's something that can also assist with that sort of thing.
Definitely, point of sale system is always an important part of the technology in the industry. And thank you so much for sharing again. So Mr. Han, of course. So Mr. Han, if you don't mind, we can move it to you. So Mr. Han is the owner of a Chinese restaurant called Han Dynasty. It has 10 locations spreading across Pennsylvania and New York City. And because we also had an interview previously, and he disclosed some very interesting business plan that Han Dynasty actually just opened a small ghost kitchen 2 months ago in Midtown of New York City. So Mr. Han, would you like to give more details about that?
Hi everybody. Sorry I'm a little late. Yeah, so I just opened my 10th restaurant, but I just opened another Vietnamese restaurant 2 days ago, and my obsession has always been opening a restaurant. To me, it's like super easy. Running a restaurant is super hard, yeah, so my plan is, when I came to the States when I was 13, that was like 30 years ago. I always, I'm always sick of Americanized Chinese food. I always want to, open my own authentic Chinese restaurant. And my favorite food is Sichuan food. So that's why I opened a Sichuan restaurant. And just to show Americans what the real Chinese food is about. Yeah.
And how do you see the digitization trend going in the restaurant? As you mentioned that you opened a new ghost kitchen. Do you see that as a future, in the restaurant sector?
Well, what I see is, but because the reason I went to as a ghost kitchen concept is because, because labor is so much, and everything costs so much more right now, and it's hard to find good laborers, and that's why I went with a ghost kitchen, just takeout. But and now I have another obstacle is that most people goes into a ghost kitchen, they expecting familiar dishes, and what we do here is authentic dishes. We don't serve so chicken or chicken and broccoli, so it's pretty tough actually, and we're just doing a lot of different events and just try to promote our food to people not familiar with our restaurant right now. Yeah, so it's pretty hard. Yeah.
Yes, and Emily can speak on that side as well because she is also the restaurant owner. And just regarding after the pandemic, you guys have used a lot of third-party delivery platforms. And do you see that the customers actually like this kind of operations? Do they like the changes that you guys made, or do you see some some changes in just in the industrial in general?
Well, there's not any changes. We already had third delivery apps, running our restaurant before the pandemic, but I think this is definitely taking over. It's definitely bringing more customers in, but the restaurant that doesn't sign up for these third app, it's very hard to do business. So it is it's the way of life now for restaurants. We have to join. We don't really have a choice anymore.
Emily, what do you think?
Yeah, I think as Chinese restaurants, we had the advantage of already being in the takeout and delivery market, and people were already ordering through delivery platforms with us. And because of pandemic, you can see a lot of French restaurant, Italian, and even fine dining restaurants get into the platforms. And I think it's definitely more challenging for them because their food is not very deliver friendly. And if you're talking about digitization, there's not a lot of digitization that's involved in the delivery process. A lot of restaurants can't even offer GPS tracking. It's solely dependent on the platforms. If, for example, Uber and DoorDash, they offer the tracking so people can see where their food is. But if you're delivering in-house, we really didn't have the resource to give customer a in-time or update where their food is. And then, of course, when it's raining or when it's snowing and everybody's system break down and everybody's food gets lost. So it's a very immature system for all parties involved, I think.
I see. Yeah, those are great points. And I see that there are innovations needed, in those technologies. And Kitty, would you like to speak on your behalf about third-party delivery platform, as this is the center of discussion?
Yeah, well, to be very honest, the pandemic has hit a lot of industries, very hard. Hospitality has been one of them. But as a food delivery platform, we probably can't complain too much because definitely the pandemic has introduced or encouraged, this new habit of, people to order food or fresh food, from their house. Therefore, there's definitely a very big growth in the needs. And to saying that, and as the other two guest speakers have mentioned, a lot of restaurants has already been on the platform before the pandemic, but this particular problem has definitely, the crisis has definitely encouraged a lot of restaurants who are not then move onto the platform. So this has been a major change, and to me, I think the technology has improved within three main aspects. One is the serviceability. So for traditional restaurants, they have a very not just not to say fixed, but limited, radius of service. But the, digitalization, as a third delivery platform will be able to help them to reach out, to a wider, user range, to reach out to more customers, as in a whole. And in saying that is the efficiency, because, for people to go in, order, wait, and and pick up, all these transactions and all this process will be able to be done online, digitalized. You could place an order, into the shop. People can anticipate how many orders are coming in, and better to manage their time. And definitely, as a food delivery platform, our role is also, on the driver's side to make sure all this food are delivered on time. And how do we do that? With the reliance of the technology, is also a key in the whole process. Yeah. And one more thing is actually the AI technology, the analytical tools that can actually help the restaurants to accurately, not to say accurately, but better anticipate how much supply, or how much raw materials they actually need to prepare. Not only saying the food delivery platforms will be able to provide them the sales history to give them an idea to anticipate the order volumes, but also in the new age of technology, the weather forecast, will be able also to anticipate, under what kind of weather condition you'll be able to understand. For example, a heavily raining day, you're definitely going to have more delivery orders coming through your restaurant. So a lot of different technologies actually helps people to anticipate, and in doing that, actually, eventually the goal is to reduce food waste. So I think from all these different aspects, this is just a new trend, and the way to go.
Yes, definitely. And thank you so much for sharing that as well. And I know that besides third-party delivery platform, we also have point of sale system as one of the spotlight. So Sherry, would you like to, share some information, or does any of the restaurant owners here have any thoughts on point of sale system as well?
I'll definitely share. With the point of sale system that has more advanced technology developed for it, restaurants are able to track more specific data that's going to be crucial for growth and for targeting their audience, and maybe building in rewards programs, loyalty programs. And that helps speed up things. Like you think of when people want to customize your orders, if you're able to save this and store the information so that the next time your consumer comes in, they are able to quickly identify what they want. You're able to already have it ready for them in a menu. But all of these different pieces of information that the POS helps collect and track really is an important tool for the restaurant industry to be able to cater better to their customers, and be more efficient with not just the process within the restaurant, but just even with their whole inventory, keeping the inventory, and tracking everything from the orders to printing reports at the end of the day, to be able to identify different trends that are going on, or monitor the ongoing struggles that maybe are occurring within the restaurant.
Yeah, definitely. And Mr. Han does express some opinions in our previous interviews about point of sale system. Would you like to share a bit of your thoughts today?
Sure. Yeah, I use probably 5 or 6 different POS systems in my restaurants, and yes, they're helping us to do make everything a little easier. But I'm a problem solver. I see a lot of problems, and I mean, do we have any Toast people here?
No,
Okay.
I use Toast.
You use Toast? I have so many problems with Toasts. Yeah. So when I say like these POS system is here to help us, but we pay them for that, right? And I have throughout my experience is that every time I have an idea, I want to improve you know, the POS system to make our job easier, you know, like to run a restaurant, you know, to get every staff to do a good job and to please the customer is very, very hard. And I'm looking for a POS system is willing to work with us to implement, you know, new functions that to make our job even easier. And but you know, every POS system, I understand how POS system works. You need a lot of, you know, programmer, you know, software engineers, like to build that function. But I'm just very disappointed in every single POS system I ever use is that they do not really care about building new functions. They only care about, you know, attracting new customers in, you know, yeah.
Han, I'd actually like to address that. We are a small company, so we're based in California, but one of the great things about being a smaller company is we love getting feedback. So speaking to that point exactly, when you're talking about, you know, there's certain functions that you would like to have, that you would like to have implemented in a POS system, I'd love to talk to you more about that, because that's
Sure.
exactly what we're looking for, because we want to create something that's actually useful, because of course you're paying us for it, right? But on that note, we want to see what's needed for you. So you are the restaurant owner, we want that feedback, and we'd love to you know, cater to what's really going to help your business, right? Not just what's going to be there sitting around and maybe taking up some space. No, we want to be that company that helps you be more efficient and get the job done, whatever is the priority in your restaurants, like whatever the struggles are. I'd love to hear more about it. So whether throughout this webinar or afterwards, I'd love to connect with you some more.
Of course. I mean, like I said, I'm a problem solver because I see so many problems, you know, before anybody else sees it. You know, my goal is to make, you know, restaurants as efficient as possible. So I don't want people to do extra work. You know, sometimes it will take like, you know, 5-10 minutes to do something, and it could be building a system that takes like seconds for us to set up, and we don't have to worry about it later, you know. So like I'm constantly struggle with, you know, dealing with toast, you know, like for example is that I don't really know how other restaurants operate. Like they don't have a timer, you know, for dishes that I want to fire, you know, like say because, you know, my restaurant is mostly Americans comes in, and that's my targets, you know. I don't have any restaurants open in Chinatown. Like my clientele is for Americans, you know, and they want their courses, you know, in order, you know, they want their appetizer in order, they want the entrees to come out at a certain time, you know. I just want a function that I can easily put a timer on the entree after I fire the appetizers. And
we actually have that.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of POS has that, but Toast doesn't, right? Yeah, I don't understand that. Like I told them for years, and they just don't want to do it for me for some reason. I don't know. Like you know, I don't want to deal with that ever again. You know, I want to work with somebody. You know, it's like you know, like a lot of POS companies, they do want to hear from the customers. You know, like and just keep getting better and better. You know, for my restaurant too, my business is that getting better and better and better, and so that way you can attract more customers.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Mr. Han. I'm sure that this is why we host this event, for everyone to connect with each other. If you see there's like potential clients, like partnerships in the future. So we really appreciate everyone's participation in this time. And because we still have two members have unique insights, so let's move on to them. That we have been focusing on the US or the Western market, but we still have to need to zoom the scope into China as well. And Mr. Nabil and Joyce, they have like thorough knowledge about, you know, China's digitization in the food sector, in the restaurant sector. So would you both like to share a bit of information? We can start with Mr. Nabil, as he unmuted himself, so I guess that's the time for him to speak.
So you want me to speak more specifically about what's going on in the restaurant sector, right?
Well, you can share just your overall observation in the restaurant industry or food supply chain, which way it also impacts the restaurant as well.
Yeah, so I think Joyce can complement or challenge what I'm saying. I'll take the example of a company like Yum China, which operates 11,000 restaurants in China, KFC, Pizza Hut. They also own other brands that are lesser known in the US. What they've done in an incredible way is, one, leverage data. So in 2017, I think they had 27% of their consumers buying through their own app. And today they've got 61% of their orders going through their own app, not through third-party platform. So that gives them incredible leverage to use this data to build loyalty programs, to also better understand their consumers. But they're also collecting enormous amount of data about all their stores to allow their store managers to work much more efficiently. I don't know if you still do that in the US, but I remember a day in China when I was working in a cafe, you had a store manager doing all sorts of paperwork for his inventory replenishment and for his store profitabilities, and he had all these papers laying on the table. Today, he's getting all sorts of tools leveraging AI, data mining, machine learning that are giving him automatic replenishment for his inventory, peer store comparisons for where he could improve, all sorts of tracking for the food that he's ordering from his suppliers. There's 100% visibility from thousands of suppliers in the network, in the factory, down to the stores that allow him to track cold chain breaks and things like that. So the first element is that they've leveraged data to a level that I've not yet seen here in the US. Second is they've put enormous amount of resources to mechanize things inside the stores and create mini robotization. They've got some small fryers and so on. And labor productivity over the past 2 years has increased by 30%. So essentially, they're operating 30% more stores with the same number of people. Third, they've leveraged sensors and Internet of Things across the supply chains, across the restaurants, to achieve transparency over the supply chain, to monitor cold chain breaks, and to monitor inventory in real time as things are moving out. And so I think these are the 3 points I would say about digitization of the restaurants, of a major restaurant chains, a leader in China.
Thank you so much. Those are great insights. I believe that every single point just like hit the, the industrial really well, especially when you mentioned about the AI and the robotics services in China. It's definitely something I think the world should adapt to, this kind of technologies. And I will circle back to that point, but let's let Joyce to express some of her thoughts about this, the restaurant services as well.
Yes, so I would like to share like what Chinese restaurants are doing. Let's say the big chains as about the let's say the customer experience side, since Mr. Navia already talking about the data and the supply chain side. So yeah, as mentioned, like Yum China has done a lot of like digitalization methods, and then we can see that it's already started like back to 2015. They have like tried digitalization ways to engage their customers already, and then like from 2017, it's been like accelerating as like bringing the traffic and the loyalty program to online. And the pandemic impact actually just accelerate all the processes to digitalization. Let's say it's impacting like all people in China. Let's say before, it maybe only middle age or younger generations, they would love to order and engage let's say KFC and McDonald's and other restaurants online. But after the impact of the pandemic, even the elders and then started to use like different digital touch points, let's say even app, mini program, Ali paid entrance. Yes, even myself is I'm ordering McDonald's from the Ali Pay mini program every morning before I set food to the office, and then I order McDonald's, and then when I pass by, I just need to pick up, and then during pandemic, so first, the touchless point to pick up already that has been set up. Let's say outside of McDonald's or KFC's, there's a stand, and then your food is already packed there with numbers, so your ticket number, and then you just go there and then pick up. You don't need to talk to anyone. You don't need to touch anything else. You just need to pick up your bag. And then that's your food. And then also like a lot of digital engagement has happened. Let's say what interesting about a lot of stores are not allowed to dine at the moment. And then they have to, let's say Starbucks, for example, they have a meeting like they accelerate the ordering online. Before they only have like a few items you can order online, and then now they have like expand their, let's say, menu. So for example, you can have a meeting compact, like you can have like 10 coffees together, so, and with a little bit discount, like, and then like people will order that. So that is also a way to increase their customer value. And then there's some online limited products. Let's say McDonald's earlier this year, they have a special pack when you order, because nowadays a lot of people like to stay at home, they have their own pets. So they have using their Big Mac and other hamburgers a bag, and let's say the pepper packs was a bigger size. So let's say cat nest package. So you order that package, that they will give you a cat nest, which your cat can go in and get out. And then there was a very successful promotion that I remember they have like 100,000 packages, and then it's sold out in a minute. And then even the website, the app, like all touch points of McDonald's just went down. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then like there are a lot of like people are showing like what they got on like Xiaohongshu, like different social medias, and then like bring like big impact, and people will complain. They're like, oh, I didn't get that thing, I didn't buy that thing, so like it's just too hard to get it. Yeah, so like it's becoming like a trend, and people are like talking about McDonald's, and also like they build different touch points all together. So even only on WeChat mini program, McDonald's has like over 10 mini programs and for different purposes. Yeah, and then like for example, my account can be integrated as I can order on Alipay, and then my WeChat will send me messages like, oh, your food is ready, and then like I have my points, I can check on the app, like all together, like seamless engagement, seamless experience. And then yeah, so it's happening in China. So I think that is quite amazing digitalization the big players are doing.
Definitely, those are great sharing. Thank you so much. And I think that your point about the online exclusive items is something that I think a lot of US companies is looking forward to promote. And I believe Kitty mentioned one of the upcoming, Hungry Pandas activity is actually called Panda Fresh. It's also like, could you tell us a little bit about that, like how it integrates with coupons or vouchers, or any way to, just to promote the business a little bit?
Yeah, so we actually launched Panda Fresh, by the end of last year, right towards the end of the pandemic, because we have realized and see this huge demand, in not only food, but fresh food, raw materials to be delivered, to houses. Therefore, what we do differently, from other platforms is, I believe the more platforms, what they do is this exactly the same model of, they partner up with grocery shops, and then, set up different individual stores on the app and then do the delivery accordingly. But what we do differently is we actually set up our own warehouse. We control our own SKUs. We want to get more control of our own supplies, because we have sensed, the supply chain has has already been a problem. Therefore, we want to make sure, we can get control in our own supplies and to ensure the quality, and to make sure the best service will be delivered accordingly. Therefore, now we currently already have warehouses in New York, in London, in Sydney, Melbourne, all the major cities as well. So what people can do is they can actually, it is actually promoted as a separate app called Panda Fresh, and very similar to on Hungry Panda. How do you redeem these promotions? We will provide you with codes and also vouchers that you can you can get free delivery or spend and save that gets these products delivered to you at your front door. Yes.
Sasha, can I add to that?
Yes, of course.
Just to reinforce, what you just said, in China, there's also a movement by the big platforms to offer more services to the restaurants or to the mom and pop stores that they're working with, allowing them to tap into their giant logistic network and to tap into their warehouse. So it's a tremendous change, because the classic restaurant in China is going to the local wholesale market to buy his ingredients, and now they're able to tap into giant digital network and giant supply chains that belong to Alibaba, Meituan, JD.com, and all these people to order their food. So it's a very interesting trend, and there's probably a lot of tools and innovation that we can learn from what they're doing. Sorry, and another addition is that there's increasingly they're trying to also offer services to the restaurants to help them manage their operation more effectively. A bit like Mr. Han was saying, they're offering production scheduling software, they're offering order scheduling softwares, route optimization softwares, all sorts of tools to help the restaurant owner to increase its profitability.
Yes, I believe Katie also mentioned about Hungry Panda is having its own supply chain because of due to previous problems with other supply chain. I just wonder if Mr. Nabil, you will have any thoughts regarding this field.
On supply chain in particular?
Yes.
Well, yes. So, I mean, what is interesting, what's happening in China that is really interesting is that is a huge movement of disintermediation. So the food in China used to come from the countryside and used to be handled by 3, 4, 5, 6 different intermediaries who may handle it properly or not properly at all. What's happened is that the vast digital platform that exists today in China have now been able to connect 500 million farmers with essentially 900 million people in the cities, and they're creating a giant farmers market. These farmers can be leveraged to serve restaurants, of course, but they can also deliver directly to consumers. So that's this movement of disintermediation facilitated by the existing infrastructure that has been developed for the past 10 years for non-food related product is now being leveraged, and there's billions and billions of dollars being invested in this. And now the question is, what can we learn from that here in the US? It's a bit hard because while China is very innovative in that sector, they also have a very specific supply chain. They've got a very fragmented supply chain with hundreds of millions of farmers who are operating very small agricultural plot, versus the US, where you've got large, very efficient industrial farms that are supplying a very small number of large distributors or retailers. So but the one thing that I see that could be used in the US is in the farm to table or CSA movement in the US. Today it's a very small part of the food supply chains. It's catering essentially to people who are already aspirational and are able to pay $1 for an egg. And it's all done in a very crafty and artisan way. It's not very sophisticated. But if you transpose this digital platform that exists in China and the tools that they have in China and bring it to aggregate orders for all these small farmers to be able to fill full trucks and full logistics centers and do micro fulfillment directly to consumers, then you could really leverage this entire part of the food industry in the US that is less advanced today.
Yes, and that is also a very great point. Does anyone want to add on that, or you have any thoughts of? Okay, Mr. Han, go ahead.
So I thought that, I just heard that Hungry Panda doesn't really have a market in America about, delivering like groceries to Americans. And my mother, she actually has 2 farms, and she provides me all the produce for my restaurants. And we know a lot of farmers, and I know a lot of supermarket people as well. So I can definitely help Hungry Panda with that. I think that's a huge market, like once you deliver food to the people, why not deliver grocery as well? And I always have an idea is that, I want to do a cooking show. I want to hold hands with Americans into a Chinese supermarket. It's like, this ingredient is what you cook best with what dish, like you can't just, like let them go wandering around in the Chinese supermarket, have no idea what's going on. Like you have to hold their hands. You have to, present them with recipes, and then, show them what all these sauces are good for, So, yeah.
So many sauces.
Yeah. So Kitty, we got to talk.
Thank you. Yeah,
That's
definitely. Well, thank you very much. And also I think you got the key, and this is something that we are planning to do as well, because as Hungry Panda, we're not seeing ourselves as purely a platform, but we try, what we aim to do is actually as a culture ambassador, to provide all these fresh foods. Later on we are thinking about how to create all these videos and stuff to teach you how to utilize these raw materials and transform them into a dish, a authentic Chinese Asian dish, on your table. So we provide cooked foods, but also we teach you how to create this your own. Yes, definitely, Han. I'll be looking forward to chatting more with you.
For me, is that I always think that, if we doing a business in America, like what's the biggest market? Are Americans. That's why I don't really focus on Chinese people in America.
Yep.
Like I focus on everybody. Like it doesn't matter what race you are, what ethnic backgrounds you have. We are here to sell, right? Like we have to make it interesting enough to teach people, educate people that there's a lot of dishes about with the Chinese cuisine, is that there's so many different cuisines in China, and then we have the only way they can adapt to it is that we literally hold their hands and teach them.
Yep. Totally agree.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for the conversation. I totally agree with Mr. Han that we are making this event very inclusive. That's not no matter of like which nationality. So we are serving, all kinds of people here. And I want to go back to the point where Jules mentioned before about the popularity in the younger generation. So I wonder if Emily, you would have any thoughts about, how the restaurant is, using digitized devices to gain, to be popular among the younger generation in the US. Do you have any feedback or like any thoughts about that?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, I was wondering if the digitization trend in restaurant actually helps to attract more, consumers from the younger generation.
I really don't see that from my experience. I think, yes, TikTok is attracting a lot of people, and Instagram is attracting a lot of customers to the new wave restaurants, not just Chinese restaurants, all sorts of restaurants, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily better for the business. It's just one clientele versus the other type of clientele. I think that's the only, I guess, like in terms of digitization to attract customers, I don't really see any like huge benefits. Before we had PR, and that's also a very reliable form of digitization, I guess, because you have the media, you have the trustworthy, I guess, publishing houses, and like, yes, people are not reading newspapers anymore, but they had a couple of reliable sources that they go to get their food news and their restaurant recommendations, and that's very very effective. If you get written up by a trustworthy media, that's way more effective, and you will definitely see an increase in business than being posted by Instagram influencer. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. I know it's quite like a tricky question to ask, but thank you for trying your best in answering that. Yeah.
Sorry, I do have a quick question, if I can go back to the previous topic. I have a question to Xavier. You said in China, the markets they're cutting off the middleman and farm to table, going directly to the consumers or restaurants. In the US, because in the US we had the farm to table sort of movement for so long, why is it still till this day like we haven't caught up to what China is doing at their scale? Is it because the scale of the farmers? I guess Mr. Han, I guess Han can answer this question too. Why are we so slow?
You want to go, Mr. Han?
Sure. So I think like, you know, like with the young people right now, they're called Generation Z, right? Like I heard a lot of them, and they're just, you know, they're in a different kind of mindset than all of us, right? It's like, to them, you have to be cool, man. And you have to be cool on social media. You have to be cool on everybody to attract their attention. If you're not cool, you can't attract their attention. They don't really care about what you're selling at all, right? So like for me, is that you really have to, you know, have a really mind-blowing idea that for them to think it's cool to follow. If you don't, they just think like, you know, they want to do their own thing. They don't really care about anything else, you know? Yeah. So it's like, we have to adapt to their mindset, you know? It's like, you got to be blowing up on social media, like something very unique, and they think it's cool.
I'll add to that there is some very practical hurdles for the farmers to really be able to deliver their food directly to consumers in the US. It's the fact that the density of the population in urban area is much lower than in China. So the cost of delivering these last 2-3 miles is very expensive. There are people, I know that GoPuff is pioneering this micro fulfillment center around the US, and they're growing extremely fast. So you could imagine a situation where farmers. So let me back up a bit to explain to you a bit how it's working in China. What you call the community purchasing movement in China is that people can group online to place orders on the digital platform. And these orders will be aggregated and they will be placed to a farmer or to a village, and they'll be able to fill up a truck. Because if you can't fill up a truck, it doesn't make any sense. It's going to be too expensive. And it gets delivered to a micro fulfillment center, which is usually a mom and pop stores downstairs in the street, who knows the people in the neighborhood, will inform the people that they received the good, and then will handle all the customer service, the replacement, the returns, and all these things. Now, can you apply that in the US? Probably, because if you have been members of CSAs in the past, it's quite amateurish in comparison. You get your box, sometimes it's not good, sometimes it's good. You don't always get the right to return the food. So I guess that what I'm trying to say is that in the US, there is a room for a platform, a digital platform, and maybe it's Uber Eats or somebody like that, who would offer farmers the infrastructure to move their goods through that platform to the consumers, leveraging all the micro fulfillment center. You can imagine that GoPuff next step would be to connect the farmers through their own micro fulfillment center. And that's where, you know, we often have the feeling here that we're the center of the world in the Silicon Valley. But maybe some of us should take a plane ticket and fly to China when they open up the doors to see what's going on there, to see what we could replicate. And if there is one area where it could be replicated, it's this area of the CSAs, I believe. because the rest of the, the supply chains are very, very consolidated, very efficient already.
Okay, thank you.
I
Can
would
I
like to
please add
feedback.
on?
Oh, okay. Okay. Let me quick feedback onto that. So from my point of view is because I'm currently in Taiwan, to be honest, and I'm trying the e-commerce services in Taiwan. It's very disappointing, I would say. I think that like one reason why China can have like such a strong supply chain is first is like they have a great delivery service to the last mile, and then the delivery service provides the supplier can give the product to the delivery service, and then they bring to the end customer like seamlessly and very quickly. So this is one point I think, and also a practice in China nowadays as the private traffic, let's say a mother group. So they have like a one touch point as a WeChat. So all the mothers they can together. So buying something, they find some supplier, and then the mothers like one of the group owners start to saying that there might be a 500 people group, and then the leader will say like, oh, I'm going to buy this stuff, and then anyone want to join. Right, and then there's a mini program can help the mother, the leader, to aggregate all the orders, and then like combine it together and send to the supplier just very simply, and they already paid online, including the product fee, the delivery fee altogether, and the supplier will just receive a list of like where and how much quantity I should send to the end customers. So it's very easy to aggregate all the orders for them. So there's a touch point, there's someone who can get orders, and then there's a easy like a ways for the suppliers to give to deliver. So I think that is also why in China it will be easier to do this.
Thank you, Joyce. I think Kitty wants to add on that.
Yeah, I think to answer Emily, the two main things that is different between US and also China in that particular topic is, one, I perfectly agree with Xavier. It's the density, the population density. The density plays a really big part, and as how much people can actually save in these group buys. And also the other part is actually a different structure of community and the mindset, because in the US, mainly Western culture, people are more raised as individually. So they, but besides, on the other side, in China, people are actually raised in this mindset of different communities. They live in the neighborhood. They're all, not naturally bonded communities, but centrally managed communities. Therefore, it's easier for people to get together and also to get access to this group buys. They in different communities, each communities, they actually have like an offline puzzle collective points as well. So this type of business model actually involves both online and offline to be combined together. So I think this is something that it is challenging in in the US market is it's a combination and mindset. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your thoughts again. Here that we have some open discussion part, so I will throw out some questions. So if you have any answer to that, feel free to to interrupt. So here are some very general questions, just regarding, again, back to the center of the topic for our event, regarding the digitization trend. Do you think what are the existing challenges so far in both US and China to encounter? And is there any challenges to overcome in the future? I hope that's not a really tough question to answer, but
well, I would say is that when you want to cross country, cross continents, that you want to bring a new business in, that you have to care for the local people, right? Like you have to please the locals to sell, right? And to bring anything from China to US to China, it has to be a lot of adapting and changes, and then you have to listen to people's feedback to cater for the local people. It's very, very hard, but also it's easy. It's that you basically just got to get everybody's feedback and change your work completely to serve for the local people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And Mr. Nabil did mention before that China has robotics food services. Do you think, like Emily and Mr. Han, do you think that US restaurants will become fully digitized one day, in the next decades, maybe? Do you think that's a realistic goal?
Well, I'm actually very afraid to that robot to do human job, because you have to worry about a lot of people lose their jobs, and then and what's going to happen when these people lose their jobs? I think chaos will follow. So yeah, the restaurant business, I mean, any business will make more money by hiring robots, use robots, but for society, I don't think it's that good. The government needs to create some type of free money for people losing their jobs, which is not good. Like it just make everybody lazy, and makes robots do everything. And yeah, and people will go rob houses. I mean, rob everybody to feed their family. That's terrible. So, but I'm up for it because I want to make more money for my business, though.
I guess the first step that you could leverage in the US is the use of data. Today, most restaurants have moved to ordering from your mobile phone when you're at the table. If restaurants in the US could drive more customers to order everything through their phone and pay through their phone, they would collect a bit more information. They could also have, as Mr. Han mentioned before, there could be a bit more innovation around helping the management inside the stores to do production scheduling, route optimization when they deliver their meal themselves. There could be all sorts of sensors or Internet of Things that could be introduced in the warehouse so that you can have real-time inventory, so that you don't have, everybody knows how complicated it is to calculate the food cost. It can be done if you've got the data, if everything is digitized in the restaurant. And that's not that complicated. It's just a discipline. When you receive the goods, you have to scan them and put them into the fridge. So I guess an increasing use of phones to order meals would allow restaurant operator to better understand their customer experience and tailor their service, and an increasing use of data inside the stores to eliminate all the paperwork could provide a trove of information to support the store managers.
I have a question. So if as a restaurant, and if we have all these data, what am I supposed to do with this data? Can I sell them or what?
I'm not the expert on that, but
yeah, man, I understand how the data collecting is very, very important, and the reason we want to collect data is for benefit, right? And and I just want to see.
But to answer your question, a business model like GoPuff, for example, that does
actually
food
I know
delivery.
the CEO of GoPuff. I went to a college. I mean, we went to the same college, but I didn't go in the same time with him, and I just see his business take off. I do really admire what he has done.
So,
yeah.
I mean, half of his business model, half of it is delivering food and making money from that, and the other half is to collect money from selling data.
I mean, well, there will be a good way if we can, as restaurants, we can start a company, collect this data, and sell it to these type of companies, right? Like DoorDash.
If you get your orders through your own app, and that's the challenge. Today, the people who have the data are the platforms. If you collect the data through your own app, that's great. I mean, look at Yum China. They've got probably 500 million or 600 million people on their app, and 61% of their orders are going through the app. But the problem is that it's extremely expensive to incentivize the customers to order through your app. It's a lot of money in discounts and promotions and vouchers and all these things.
I
So
actually
I
want
will-
to. Oh,
Okay,
oh, go
I will
ahead.
also reply a little bit onto the data side, as I've been reading data all the time as an e-commerce. So for like there are some tools to support to having data. I'm not sure about the United States, but in China, there are some cheap ways to get it. And anyhow, so how to apply those data is another thing, right? So for example, the whole like supply chain, so you can see, let's say the from the customer side, order what kind of food is more popular, less popular. You must have something in your mind, but data will make it more visible, and then you can move it backwards as like what supply chain, what kind of like materials you should get, like how long it should take, and then it can be like all like aggregated. You see like when should I order what, and then like how much should I order, and then by train, and then like for the customer side, you can see this person how many times that he has come and or she has come, and then like what kind of food that he or she orders, and then you can have like better service at those people, and then you can predict like what you are going to provide in the future, and giving some like a very innovation ideas or creative ideas based on the data, and then like details on the improvements. That's like what usually when I am looking data for a little bit feedback on like a small business owners, like because normally we don't really get like a big money to invest on the app and then collecting all the data, mine all the like data, right? What I see in like practice in China is like small business owners, they will have like a WeChat group. So when you go to the store, when you go to the restaurants, they have a WeChat group you can go in. And then even my friend who's running a restaurant, he has a WeChat group for his restaurant. And like customers can be in a WeChat group talking like what kind of food I like, or the manager of the restaurants will say, hey, we have some new products. We are having new products coming up, but we would like to have you as a private taste to see if you like it or not. And we can even have a delivery to you. So that would like first is testing the new products, and second to create the engagement of the customers. So this is a very low cost way for running that community, and then like get feedback and engagement directly with the customers. So this is what also I think is a good way if you don't have data, and then still keep engaging with the customers.
Yes, Mr. Neville, are you going to add anything?
No. I mean, this is a great idea. I'm convinced that many independent restaurateurs in the US are using Instagram in the same way.
Yes,
would it be true, Emily?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think for when it comes to restaurant, it's a perfect example of certain areas need to be digitized, and certain areas don't necessarily need to. Not everything has to be digitized. We don't really, like, humans are not built in a way that we need a robot to come and serve our food. We need people go to the restaurants and they are looking for the human interaction. But like Xavier was saying, certain areas do need to be digitized, and that can definitely help us even as small business owners when it comes to manage your inventory, to manage your information with the customers. And we are using our certain softwares already to communicate with our customers and market ourselves and manage customers' information. And we with Toast, there's certain ways, our POS system, there are certain ways that you can save people's preference. And I mean, those are like small steps. And I think as of right now, for me, we only have three locations, and that's enough for now. But obviously there are more things to be done, and when the cost is cheap enough, we would for sure jump on it. But I think some areas are not worth stressing over at the moment, yes, because it's just too expensive.
And I agree. The downside is definitely a significant decline of interpersonal interaction with customers. I actually want to direct the question to Sherry, if you don't mind, because Joyce mentioned about the data collection before. So I was wondering how data collection works in POS system. And do you guys encounter like challenges of like data privacy or like, personal safety issues when a customer is paying on, the point of sale system machines?
Well, definitely consumer privacy is top of mind. That would be the biggest concern when thinking of the digitization in restaurants, and that's something that's always going to be a concern. So, anytime we're talking about artificial intelligence or Internet of Things, and if there's leaks in this information, breaches, that's something that would cause a lot of potentially a crisis within the hospitality industry, because it's so common now to use POS systems and have this digitalized, this data information that's being collected. And that's just something that we maybe should look at as far as the industry as a whole, having certain policies, something that's clear to everybody so that we can keep that consumer information or consumer privacy safe.
Yes, it's definitely very correct. So Kitty, I think you're nodding your head. Do you have any thoughts to add on that as well?
Yeah, well, actually, to add on something, we discussed before, data is very, very important, especially as for a platform, and our role is actually to use this data to process and then to provide insights, to both restaurants and also ourselves. So in saying that, to also answer him, I perfectly understand, a lot of data, if you hold a lot of data, but if these data are not processed, you can't really see the value of how they actually can benefit you. So as a platform, our role is, for example, one of the feature that we actually provide is we will be able to let the restaurants get access to their portal to understand how many people has visited your store. You probably won't be able to see who are they, but you will know how many people who has reached out, who had had a look at your store on the app. Probably they haven't placed an order, but they are definitely interested, in what you service. And that's how we provide you a channel to get connected to these people. You could send them an in-app notification. You'll be able to, send them a voucher, tailored to your store. So I think as the platform, our role is actually to use this data to actually build all these tools, all these weapons, to reach out, to help the restaurants to reach out to more users, and that's the way to really make this data useful. That's the difference between how can you use this data individually and how can the platform can help you on this aspect. And also to add on one point, with Emily beforehand as well, I totally agree with you that not every restaurant needs to be digitalized, because for example, with restaurants, they are more focused on fine dining, these atmospheres, they probably their food is probably not delivery friendly. But that's also why as a platform ourselves, as Hungry Panda, we're actually trying to shift ourselves into a new kind of model, not only to deliver food, but also as a lifestyle, service provider. So not only to help you to do food deliveries, but we also help people, our existing audience, existing users, will be able to drive them into dining into your restaurants, because this is also something post-pandemic, how to drive people from online back to the restaurants. This is something that we actually also aiming to do as well. And we do have a new feature called Vouchers Panda. This is something that we are trying to practice. We promote create these discount promotions online and for people to redeem offline. So with Hungry Panda, Panda Fresh, and Vouchers Panda, we're trying to create like a all-in-one lifestyle app, you can get whatever you want, to support your day-to-day life in different aspects. So I totally agree with Emily. With towards different restaurants, towards different users, they have different needs. And in a digitalized world, it's not to force everything to be moved online, but to actually better understand different people's needs and find the best solution and their best interest, and to perform as a platform. How do we satisfy customers in different ways is, very, very important.
Oh, thank you so much, Kitty, for saying that. And you do mention about very interesting point is about Voucher Panda, which is using online discounts to apply to offline business. Do you think that Hungry Panda is actually taking a similar practice as most of the China's e-commerce giants in this field to, just to take some similar approaches in this field?
Well, definitely. Well, this particular model has been practiced, and examined, to be successful in China and in Asia. Therefore, we do have confidence that this can work, in the US market, in other parts of the world, and yes, and especially after the pandemic, how to get more promotions and how to get more deals, online, is very beneficial for people's day-to-day life. People don't need to look at all three different apps. They can look at one app and all this information are already there. It is how to create an all-in-one and all-rounder. It's like, we are your personal assistant. When you need food, we can deliver for you. When you need fresh food, we can deliver grocery to you. When you need, to go offline and then, to dine in, or, you want to get a haircut, we will be able to support you with the best deal. So I think that the all-in-one lifestyle model is the way to go. And that's what we are actually working towards.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Kitty. Does Emily, you have any thoughts about Kitty's, statements or like ideas?
No questions. I mean, I think it's a great idea, and technology should be customized for the users, and that users include the business, obviously. And yeah, if we're customizing the different technologies and to benefit the users, then I think that's great. That reminds me of Dianping, which is the Chinese website that's kind of like your personal butler, I guess, but like not as fancy, and they're very successful. For me as a user, I just go there for everything. So and I see that their service is benefiting the businesses as well. So it's a great idea.
Yes, definitely. I totally agree with that. As we discussed, like the conversation goes from farmers market to the table, to restaurants, to, to lifestyle services. I guess we are wrapping the conversation in the event tonight. Is there anything that anyone wants to share in the last minute that you want to generate a conversation?
One more point, maybe. You talked about hurdles in the US to become more digitized. I'm thinking about supply chain transparency and all the tools around Internet of Things and how you can control where your food has been made, how it has been made, where it is on delivery to your stores or to your restaurants. And it is already leveraged in China as a tool to manage your franchisees. So it's not applicable for individual restaurants or for 2 or 3 stores, but if you grow to 100 franchisees, it is a fantastic tool if you are controlling the brand on one hand and controlling the supply chain, have full transparency over your supply chain. It's a fantastic tool to control your franchisee and guarantee that they operate according to your standards.
And the supply chain is a third party. Usually people use a third party supply chain rather than building their own supply chain, right? Even with 100 stores.
I did not hear the beginning of your question, sorry.
Even with 100 stores, people usually use a third party or like outsource their supply chain. Okay.
You're talking about China, or you're talking about
I guess
the US?
here.
Here you would use a third-party logistic providers and people like the world is the food distributor that supplies everything from forks to meat. What's their name?
US Foods.
US Foods, or the other one that is yeah. So in China companies like Yum China, they have cameras in the factories of their suppliers that allows them to identify even HACCP risk that are broken during productions on their way to their stores. So that's what you call supply chain transparency. So one, it's a tool to control your franchisees if you want to develop through franchisees. And two, it's also an amazing selling point to your consumers, because Mr. Han was talking about the Gen Z. One of the things that Gen Z cares for is to know where the food is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have a question. I'm not really exactly sure. I'm sorry, I didn't do enough research, but what does EqualOcean wants to do in the American market? Like, instead, like, I know you guys want to, interview people and get everybody together, but
actually this one, so maybe you have missed our introduction part in the beginning for this event, but I can definitely schedule a meeting with you afterward to go through more details. But like in general, we are a global tech media and investment research firm in the US. We also have our headquarters in Beijing as well. So we can definitely schedule a meeting afterward to answer any possible questions you might have.
So if I have a greatest idea of all time, you guys will invest in my idea, right?
We can always discuss that with our marketing team.
Okay.
Okay, sounds wonderful. And thank you so much for everyone for your participation today. I really appreciate your time and your thoughts. It has been a fun and creative conversations. I've seen some smiles, nodding, some, just staring at the screen and don't know what to say, but it's absolutely fun to meet you guys.
Is it possible I can get everybody's contacts here? I can reach out to and just chat with these people, everybody.
I will connect with our marketing individuals and then I will respond to you by email.
Same here. Thank you, Sasha.
Yes, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice meeting
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.